Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm joined today by Alderman and Senator Silverstein, Levi Stahl on behalf of the Moskowitz family, Commander Nuevez, Lieutenant Mike Kennedy from Area North Detectives, Glenn Brooks from CPD's Community Policing Office, and the dedicated officers of the 24th District and their community partners who work very hard in making Rogers Park a safer neighborhood. Together, we're pleased today to announce an increase in the reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the individual responsible for the murders of Mr. Douglas Watts and Mr. Eli Moskowitz, up from the $23,000 to $150,000. This increase marks the highest reward raised exclusively by the community for information leading to the arrest and conviction of a homicide suspect within the city of Chicago. We share our deepest gratitude for all of the donors and organizations that contributed to this reward. The Rogers Park community, along with the entire city of Chicago, was rocked by the senseless murders that took place here just over 5 weeks ago. Since then, our detectives have been pouring through hours of surveillance video, knocking on doors and pursuing available leads related to the investigation. Additionally, we've relied not only on the support provided by our state and federal partners assisting in the investigation, but from the input and cooperation of the local community as well. The fact that we received over 430 independent leads to support our ongoing investigation just goes to show how any investigative case must be built upon a strong connection with the community. However, and I want to stress that, however, we are still asking for more help. We're hopeful that this significant reward increase will encourage individuals with direct knowledge of and interaction with the suspect to come forward. Someone out there listening or watching right now knows who this person is, whether it be an acquaintance, a friend, loved one, or relative. Now, due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, we're limited in what we can share and would not want to compromise any component of the investigation. But do know this: we are using every resource at our disposal to find the individual responsible. These were heinous actions, and we will find that person that committed these actions in our community, and will not stop until we have a suspect in custody. If anyone has any information regarding these incidents, I encourage you to call Area North Detectives at 312-744-8261. If you see anyone or notice anything suspicious, call 911 immediately. If you would like to report any information anonymously, please use cbdtip.com. And now I'd like to ask Levi Stahl to come up and share a few words with you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Superintendent. I'd just like to reiterate that this is the largest reward offered in the city's history, and it stands as a great example of how we can work together as a community and cooperate to overcome the challenges we face as a community. There are a few individuals from the Chicago Police Department that we would like to thank personally. That's Lieutenant John Felino, Officer David Appel, and our CAPS liaison, Sergeant Sean Sisk. As well, we would like to acknowledge those organizations that stepped up to contribute towards this reward. In no particular order, it's the Rogers Park Builders Association, the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago, community activist Raul Montes Jr., Crime Stoppers of Cook County, and a private donation on behalf of an individual for the Moskowitz family who wishes to remain anonymous. I would like to ask those news organizations that when you report this in your news reports, that you accompany it with the surveillance video that the Chicago Police Department has provided publicly, so that we can remove this individual from our midst, which is something that we all want as a community. Thank you very much.
Now we'll take questions if you have any.
Can you tell us, are you guys still out on the street in the numbers that you were a month ago?
Listen, so we put a certain amount of detectives on any homicide investigation. Of course, because of the nature, the proximity, and the time frame that this individual committed these acts, of course, we put additional patrols out there. We're not quite at the numbers we were back then, but we still have a substantial amount of personnel out there.
Superintendent, do we know anything more about the motive at this point? There has been talk, maybe people questioning whether this is a hate crime?
No, it's still too early to say that. And I just, my police acumen would just say to me, unless, God forbid, that any more crimes of this nature are committed, but until we bring that individual in, we may not know that motive.
Superintendent, originally you said that there were several hundreds of hours of video to go through. So far, we've only gotten the original images we had within days of the first murder. Are there any other new images that you can share, or you're planning to share publicly?
Not at this time.
Have you located images that you're not sharing at this time?
No.
Superintendent, when I saw that video, he's got that distinctive walk. It's a really good look at him. I thought, oh, this is going to be easy to find. But we're now about 5 weeks later. Obviously, I'm not police, but are you kind of surprised that with that great surveillance, you still don't have this?
Well, my hope would be that we would have got him within 48 hours. But here's the fundamental thing we all have to remember. Somebody out there knows who this guy is. They do. He's either bragged to someone saw that video and recognized him. We just need those individuals to come forward and help us with this. We need to take this individual off the streets because, he touched 2 individuals back then. Hopefully he doesn't touch anyone else, but there's somebody that knows who he is, and for whatever reason, they haven't come forward yet, but hopefully they will, and that's why we're asking them to.
How worried are you that at this point, the most likely way you're going to catch him is if he does it again?
Well, that's always of a concern. I hope it doesn't rise to that level, but that's always a concern. I wouldn't kid you about that. But we do have we have leads that we're still, looking at, but we need additional help from the public out there.
Superintendent, so has all of the video that you were able to retrieve from the city cameras and private business cameras been reviewed at this point, and there's no other image of the suspect? There's so many cameras in the park and in the areas between these 2 murders.
I know a lot of video has been reviewed, but I don't know if every piece of it has been reviewed. I'll get that information to you later. Okay?
Superintendent, your comments kind of speak to the code of silence among people that just are afraid to come forward or just typically don't come forward when they know?
Yeah, well, you know what, Paris, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of reasons why people don't share information. Some of it is because they just don't want to get involved. Sometimes it's because they're afraid. Sometimes they just don't want to tell on the person that they know as a friend or loved one. But you're not helping when you do that. These types of crimes are heinous and it's unacceptable. Any murder in this city is unacceptable. Not just these particular ones, but we always have to fight that thing, whether we want to call it, whatever you want to call it, that people are afraid to share that information. So all I can do is encourage people to tell us what they know.
A few days ago, a young Latina was also fatally shot in the Belmont training area. According to the father's victim, the perpetrator was wearing a mask. Any chance that this could be related?
Well, we can't say that right now because the reason you just stated, because he was wearing a mask and the other individual was masked up. But my gut would say, no, they're not related. But there's always that possibility, but I doubt it. Anything else?
Superintendent, just switch gears for a second. Can you talk with us about wrong raids and bad search warrants?
Sure. Listen, we do thousands of search warrants a year, and we do everything we can to ensure that we are targeting the right location. But at the end of the day, we rely on citizens' information most of the time. The addresses are vetted through the state's attorney's office, and then, of course, we have to go to a judge to get approval for warrants. But we do everything we can, but we're not perfect. We're human. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we try to provide the officers all the training we can to ensure that that type of thing doesn't happen.
Are you tracking them? Do you know how many times they get it wrong?
Yeah, we look at it.
Do you have actual numbers?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but we do have that.
We've been asking for numbers.
I'm a member of not the media, I'm a resident of Western Park. And some of my neighbors be out of state now.
Well, man, this is what I can tell you. Of course, he's stopped that type of activity, but an honest answer is that we don't know where he is right now. So that would just be an assumption on our part. You know, he's obviously laying low right now. You know, he knows there's a lot of pressure, and he knows we're looking for him. You know, so that's not unnatural for them to kind of stop what they're doing at this time. But I wouldn't go so far as to say he's moved out of Chicago or out of state.
I have a personal question. I'm 82 years old and I don't walk so well. And I have 2 dogs and I used to walk them in the middle of the night. But I stopped that. Is it that he didn't do his killings in the middle of the night?
No, that you're correct. And the commander over here is doing a great job with ensuring that we have the resources out there that you need. But what I would still encourage people, when you want to come out that late, to come out in pairs if you can. But
Come out what?
in pairs, in groups, not walk out there alone if you can. Okay? Sure. Mr. Stahl.
Yes.
I just wanted to know what kind of fear does or does not exist within your community right now, given these events and the others that have happened around the country?
This particular news conference is not connected with anything that happened recently. Just want to make that clear. The Jewish community, each section upon themselves makes their own, does their planning, and there's no reason. I don't think that it's correct to say there's fear. I think there's preparedness.
It's clear that this is affecting your community here very, very much. You're getting so actively involved, and that's laudable, but I was hoping you could speak a bit more to that.
What specifically?
What are you hearing from some of your neighbors and community members within the Jewish community? Are people scared more so in the Jewish community?
I would say no. Maybe the Senator would like to address that.
I think there's a good concern, but the Jewish community has a lot of faith in the Chicago Police Department. Synagogues have taken actions to enforce their security, working with the Chicago Police Department. It's a general fear when someone from a community gets killed. But I think overall, on Saturday, the Sabbath, people are outside walking around. The police have been unbelievable with their presence in the 50th Ward and the West Riders Park. So I guess there is some fear, but I think we're taking appropriate actions in case, God forbid, something happens.
Is this more a testament to how close your community is and how involved you are?
It's a very tight-knit community. We're all family. We all agree with the Moskowitzes. I mean, you can't say anything to them or make them feel better. I don't know what to say to them. But I think the community is grieving, but we're coming together as a whole, and I think we're taking as much security precautions as we can. We're working with the Chicago Police Department.
Superintendent, back on the investigation. So at this point, is still the only connection between these 2 shootings is that ballistics match the bullet used? Have you been able to identify what type of bullet, what caliber weapon, the gun?
Yeah, we've identified the caliber, I believe. But listen, there's nothing that connects those 2 victims together at all that we can find. It appears that this guy went out there and he killed them for whatever reason he had. Again, we don't know the motive of this individual, and we probably won't until we get him and are able to talk to him. But there's nothing else that links those 2 individuals together. Come on.
I just wanted to reiterate what was said earlier. The police department has been wonderful in giving tips to the community as far as walking in groups and keeping a little bit of a closer eye on family members. The community is nervous. Nobody likes this. This is just a horrible, horrible thing. But again, as my husband said, Senator Silverstein, the police department are out there. They're visible. They're watching us. They're visiting places of worship on Saturdays, and they have really taken really good care of us. So thank you to all the police officers who are here today.
To the community members concerned about the talk that he might have moved out of state, are you working with law enforcement in the surrounding states to see if there's anything similar, or is it like it's in the system, so if that bullet pattern shows up again, automatically?
Oh yeah, it's in the NIBUS system. But listen, we work with our state, federal partners every day on situations just like this. We didn't just start doing that. We've been doing that all along, and we'll continue to do that. So if anything pops up, I'm sure they'll let us know, and vice versa. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Superintendent?
Thank you very much.